A Chanel classic flap cost €1,650 in 2010. Today, that same bag costs €10,800. The leather did not get 6 times better. The stitching did not change. The factory did not move. The price moved, and it moved on purpose. 5 luxury brands are running the same play. The bag is not the product. The price increase is the product. Here is exactly how it works. The bad 5. Number 5, Burberry. Burberry invented the trench coat. That is not a marketing claim. It is a historical fact. The double-breasted gabardine construction, the storm flap, the D-ring belt, the check lining. Burberry holds the original patent. Every trench coat at every price point from every brand is, in some form, a copy of what Burberry built over a century ago. That heritage is real. The question is what you are actually paying for when you buy it today. A Burberry trench coat retails for €1,890 to €2,490. The gabardine is proprietary, a tightly woven cotton twill developed in-house that repels water without synthetic coating. That material is genuinely superior and it justifies a premium. But the interlining, the structural layer that gives the coat its shape, its drape, and its longevity, has been the subject of consistent independent quality complaints since Burberry's aggressive expansion into the Chinese market through the early 2010s. Expansion that tripled revenue and quietly thinned the construction standards that built the brand. Now the number that reframes everything. Burberry's gross margin for fiscal year 2024 was 69.4%. For every €2,000 trench coat, approximately €620 covers materials, labor, and freight. The remaining €1,380 covers marketing, retail operations, corporate overhead, and profit. You are paying €2,000 for a coat. €1,380 of that never touches the coat. In 2023, Burberry destroyed £31.5 million worth of unsold products rather than discount them, a practice they have since pledged to stop under EU regulatory pressure. A brand burning its own inventory to protect price perception is telling you something precise. The price is not connected to what the coat costs to make. It is connected to the cost of making sure not enough people can have it. Burberry is currently midway through a repositioning under Chief Executive Officer Jonathan Akeroyd, moving away from the streetwear direction of the previous decade back toward classic heritage luxury. That strategic shift may deliver a stronger product over time. But right now, you are paying premium heritage prices for a brand still figuring out what it wants to be. The trench coat endures. The brand around it is unsettled. That is the wrong moment to spend €2,200. Number 4, Versace. Versace was acquired by Capri Holdings in 2018 for $2.1 billion. Capri Holdings also owns Michael Kors and Jimmy Choo. When a single conglomerate controls a mass-market accessible brand and a historic Italian luxury house simultaneously, the operational logic moves in one direction. You extract margin from the luxury brand to offset pressure from the accessible one. That pressure shows up in the product. A Versace La Medusa handbag retails for €1,250 to €1,950. The leather is calf grain, a processed mid-tier hide that sits below the full grain standard expected at this price. The Medusa head hardware is the visual centerpiece of the bag, and it is where the production budget is concentrated. The hardware is heavy, detailed, and well finished. The leather it sits on does not consistently match that standard. Independent construction reviews on multiple Medusa styles document surface, finishing inconsistencies, and edge painting quality that belongs at the €400 to €600 tier, not at the €1,500 tier. The ready-to-wear follows the same pattern. A Versace printed silk blouse retails for €650 to €950. At this price point, silk should be a minimum of 16 momme weight, the standard for structured drape, durability, and the hand feel that justifies calling something luxury. Independent fabric assessments on multiple Versace ready-to-wear pieces place the silk weight at 12 to 14 mommy. Below 14 mommy, silk is sheer, fragile, prone to snagging, and loses shape within a season of regular wear. You are paying 800 euros for silk that performs like 200 euro silk from a lesser brand. Here is the financial context that explains why. Capri Holdings reported that Versace revenue declined 15% in fiscal year 2024. The brand responded not by improving the product, but by expanding into lower price point accessories and increasing outlet availability, the exact playbook that collapsed Michael Kors's brand equity over the previous decade. The same mechanism, the same parent company, 10 years later, and one brand tier higher. Donatella Versace built on something Gianni created. Capri Holdings is extracting from what Donatella maintained. The price stays where the heritage justifies it. The product moves toward where the margin demands it. You pay the heritage price for the margin product. That is the trade every time you buy Versace today. Number 3, Coach Collection, a distinction that matters. This is not Coach Outlet, which we covered previously. This is the mainline Coach Collection. The runway pieces, the tabby and pillow tabby handbags, the ready-to-wear positioned at the top of the brand hierarchy. Prices run from 400 euros for accessories to 1,500 euros for leather goods. The positioning is luxury. The ownership structure makes sustaining that positioning almost impossible. Tapestry Incorporated, the parent company behind Coach Kate Spade and Stuart Weitzman, reported revenue under consistent pressure through 2024. Coach is Tapestry's flagship and its primary revenue engine, which means every cost decision across the conglomerate lands hardest on Coach's production budget. A Coach Collection tabby shoulder bag retails between 550 euros and 750 euros. The leather is pebbled cowhide, durable and recognizable, but a commercial grade that appears at similar quality levels in bags retailing for 150 euros to 200 euros from independent brands. What Coach charges above that is the brand architecture, the horse and carriage logo, the New York heritage story, the retail experience. The hardware tells the most honest version of the story. Coach Collection hardware uses the same casting molds and plating processes as the Coach mid-range line. In-store, side by side, the physical difference between a 350 euro Coach bag and a 700 euro Coach Collection bag is not proportional to the price difference. The collection designation lives on the label and in the store placement. The manufacturing does not reflect a parallel upgrade. Stuart Vevers, Coach's creative director, has produced genuinely strong design work. The aesthetic is coherent and the brand has a clear identity. But a strong creative direction applied to commercial-grade leather at luxury tier prices is still commercial-grade leather. Design is not construction. What you wear is the construction. Number 2, Gucci. Gucci's gross margin for fiscal year 2023 was 79.7%. Hold that number for a moment. For every 1,000 euro Gucci bag you buy, approximately 203 euros cover materials, labor, and the freight cost of getting the bag to the store shelf. The remaining 797 euros covers marketing, retail operations, executive compensation, corporate overhead, and profit. This is before a single operating expense beyond production is paid. At 79.7%, Gucci is not primarily a leather goods company. It is a margin company. Leather goods are the delivery mechanism for the margin. A Gucci Marmont retails for 1,290 euros. The leather is matelassé, a quilted embossed calfskin. The quilting process is mechanical, not hand-stitched. The interlocking GG hardware is cast metal with gold or silver plating. Based on industry production cost analysis and the publicly disclosed margin structure, the estimated production cost on a standard Marmont sits at 180 to 250 euros. That is a 5 to 6 times markup on a mechanically quilted bag with plated cast hardware. Kering, Gucci's parent company, reported 3 consecutive quarters of revenue decline through 2024. the brand lost 1.2 billion euros in operating profit year over year. The response was not to recalibrate pricing. The response was to accelerate the brand repositioning under new creative director Sabato De Sarno, with new campaigns, new runway direction, and new store design. Significant investment focused on the frame around the product, while the product itself remained at the same price and the same construction tier. There is a pattern visible across multiple Gucci product lines that independent reviewers and resale market data have both documented. The resale value on Gucci handbags depreciates faster than Chanel, Hermes, or even Louis Vuitton at comparable price points. A €1,290 Gucci Marmont retains approximately 40 to 55% of its retail value at resale after 2 years of regular use. A Chanel Classic Flap at €10,800 retains 90% or more. The resale market is the most honest price discovery mechanism in luxury fashion, and it is telling you something clear about what the Gucci price is actually buying. You are paying for the peak of the GG monogram's cultural moment. That moment peaked in 2019. The price has not adjusted to reflect where the moment is now. Number 1. Chanel, €1,650 in 2010, €3,500 in 2015, €5,200 in 2019, €6,000 in 2020, €8,800 in 2022, €10,800 in 2024. That is a 555% price increase in 14 years. EU inflation over the same period was approximately 40%. Raw material costs for calfskin leather increased by approximately 15 to 25% over the same window. Labor costs in the French ateliers where Chanel produces its bags increased meaningfully, but not at a rate that accounts for more than a fraction of the gap. Chanel's price increases have one relationship and one relationship only: manufactured exclusivity. Every increase is engineered to make the bag harder to access. Harder access increases desire. Increased desire justifies the next increase. The mechanism is self-perpetuating and has nothing to do with the cost of making the bag. Now the honest part, because this brand requires it. The classic flap construction is genuine. The leather, lambskin, or caviar calfskin, depending on the style, is full grain, properly tanned, and sourced to a consistent standard. The quilting is hand-stitched by artisans in Chanel's own workshops. The CC turnlock is precision cast. The chain strap is interwoven leather and gold tone chain, hand-assembled. The construction at €1,650 in 2010 was excellent and fully justified that price. The construction in 2024 is the same construction, unchanged. The bag did not improve by €9,150. The number did. Chanel is privately held, so gross margin data is not publicly disclosed. Bernstein Research estimates Chanel's operating margin at approximately 30 to 35%, against reported revenue of approximately €17 billion in 2022. Working through that math, the estimated production cost on a €10,800 classic flap lands somewhere between €400 and €750, depending on the leather grade and the labor hours involved. You are paying between €10,050 and €10,400 for something that costs between €400 and €750 to produce. That gap is not craftsmanship. That gap is the most precisely engineered perception of scarcity in the history of the fashion industry. Chanel does not run outlet stores. Chanel does not discount. Chanel does not produce bags at volume beyond what the waiting list demands. Every element of the operation exists to maintain the gap between what the bag costs to make and what you are willing to pay to own it. The bag is excellent. The price is a completely separate product. Chanel sells both simultaneously, and most buyers cannot tell where one ends and the other begins. Now you can.